Hey guys, Dov here with another battle for Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer. We've got barbarians in the desert, so that must mean some Tomb Kings, and here we are up against, a very Tomb King build. Let's get straight to it. I've gone with Wulfric the Wanderer here. We've got a Famir Balefiend Lore of Fire Miststalkers, of course, for the armor sundering, armor piercing, and just super strong stats in general. They also cause terror, which makes them immune to terror when fighting other monsters. We've got 3 Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, a massive line of Berserkers, 4 Berserkers with 3 Meat Shield Marauders up front. As for the Tomb Kings here, they've got a Cav contingent, 2 Nehekara Horsemen with 2 Necropolis Knights halberds. We've got Arkan the Black on horseback, a Hero Titan, 1 unit of Ushabti, 4 Skeleton Spears, and a Necrotech on a Chariot. So yeah, Arkan gonna be getting a little aggressive, just charging straight in here. Nope, he's gonna nope out of that. The Necrotech though will side through on his Chariot, get some decent damage, and yeah, engagement gets underway here. We're gonna throw that Hunter of Champions on Arkan, and you can see I've positioned my throwing axes here. We just kind of eat the charge a little bit with some of those Marauders, and then come in. You can see also that the Berserkers have such high weapon strength that they can even fight large units relatively effectively. But I keep trying to pop Burning Head, but that Balefiend keeps getting knocked over. You'll see that template pop up a couple times. Finally, I just throw a Flaming Sword of Ruin in here to get a damage spike on all these melee units. Balefiend himself, Wulfric's trying to fight Arkan. He responds with the Liber Mortis, but of course, Flaming Sword of Ruin does give magic damage as well as fire, so that Liber Mortis actually is basically completely ineffective while that's active, so great situation for me. They basically wear off at exactly the same time. There comes Wulfric's boat, and we're finally able to get some good AoE damage going. And yeah, just kind of getting a bit of a surround to collapse all these Tomb King's infantry. Granted, Arkan can continue to summon more infantry, but the Berserkers do a very efficient job just blending through all the skeletons, no problem. So I really didn't even need to use my AoE damage that much. Just wanted to try and get these chaff collapsed as quickly as possible here. You can see my Berserkers taking relatively little damage for the most part. The Maws of Savagery, unfortunately, have been absolutely savaged here by the Necropolis Knights with halberds. But thankfully, they have regeneration, so the few models that remain will continue to fight. On the other hand, the Miststalkers here, because they have such good stats, will fight very well in a kind of grind fight like this. They have much better sustained stats than those Necropolis Knights with halberds, whereas the Maws of Savagery, on the other hand, while they do have excellent offensive stats and regeneration, are lacking a bit in the melee defense department. I don't know. Lost track of where they went, but they're in here somewhere. You can see the Marauder Horsemen getting pushed away by the Necropolis Knights with halberds. We can skirmish them a little bit during this time, though. Throw some axes. You'll see a couple unit models drop here and there. And yeah, the summoned Ushabti also pushing away those Marauder Horsemen. So that is going to allow the regular Ushabti to get in here and fight. And how about this? Bit of a mid-level monster fight as the Ushabti duke it out with the Famir. Famir are absolutely just superior in every way to Ushabti. Obviously, they're much more expensive, and the ROR especially is like quite a bit more expensive, but still very, very strong units. Maws of Savagery also still scrapping despite all the damage they've taken. We're going to throw another Flaming Sword of Ruin. You can see Hunter of Champions. Nope, looks like it's wore off, but Wulfric came in for a quick charge on Arkan the Black. Bounce power still pretty close because Wulfric took a bunch of damage on that initial engagement. Kind of having to just hang him out on the side here so he doesn't get taken out. And I can continue to use his debuffs and so on, but yeah, my Berserkers are actually starting to get ground through, and this is the thing, Norsca's not amazing at an attrition fight. They can do some things, certainly, with Skin Wolves and, you know, other units. Famir are decent in a grind fight. They're not the best at attrition, but just generally, Norsca needs to hit hard and fast and win. They're not great in an attrition fight. At this point, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, most of the infantry's gone, and even if Arkan does get some summons, I've got enough Berserkers in here that they can just cut them to pieces pretty quick. But you can see that Hero Titan's still an absolute force to be reckoned with. He does fire damage, so he'll do additional bonus damage against the Maws of Savagery here. And a beautiful rear charge from the Snek Knights with halberds, gonna get in here and do a lot of damage to the Berserkers and the Famir as well. So a nice hit back by Stormrunner here. This is actually one of the games for the German-speaking tournament. Final group game. But anyway, the curse goes off there. That's also going to do great damage scaling against the Famir because it's like a single entities type damage scaling. We go ahead and have a look here before it pops off. Yeah. Unfortunately, not going to be enough to save the Tomb Kings, though. Ark in the Black takes a few big hits from the Famir. The Hunter Champions on him. And the Maws of Savagery also get a couple hits. Here comes Wulfric as well to deliver the crushing blow. Maybe not. Doesn't want to stay close to that Hero Titan for too long. Arcan will just crumble anyway, and then all the throwing axes in Famir will finish off the big boy. So, well played in my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. I have to say, this is probably the toughest matchup for the Tomb Kings, and the Tomb Kings are one of the best factions in the game. So, I guess that also makes Norsca, just by association, a very, very strong faction as well. And not only for this matchup, but I do think that Norsca is just a pretty good faction in general. They have a lot of good matchups. They have some pretty bad matchups too, but for the most part, they're definitely very fun to play and I think pretty underrated. Yeah, Famir and Regiment of Renowned Skinwolves both did great here. You can see tons of kills on the Berserkers as well. Over 100 kills on 3 of them, with 71 on the 4th. And Throwing Axe isn't going to get a whole lot of kills, but still able to get some good DPS on some of these armored units. Necropolis Knights with Halberds. An interesting pick here. You know, I had been using the Lance ones a little bit lately, and I do think that there's something to the Necropolis Knights. I don't know if this is necessarily the best matchup for them. Norsca tends to be very good against heavy cavalry, unless it's brought in a critical mass, which you can't really do with the Tomb Kings. I mean, I guess if you were to cut this Hero Titan down, but honestly, I think the Hero Titan is a decent tool here. Although Norsca is very good at hunting monsters, they are weak to fire damage, and the Hero Titan's armor makes it somewhat impervious to javelins, and again, the fire magic damage is very strong, and the extra Spirit Leech and Shem's Burning Gaze also does fire damage, so it gives you even one more missile that you can kind of pop some Skinwolves, pop Throg, somebody like that with. It's just a very strong tool, I think, in this matchup, so I actually like that pick quite a bit here, but yeah, as far as going for more of a cavalry-centric build, I would just think you would need a little bit more numbers, and again, I don't know if this is going to work very well against Norsca specifically. It may work better in some other matchups, but if we have a look at the Tomb Kings here, I mean, Nehekara Horsemen are pretty good for the cost, so I would definitely tank up on them as kind of the main line, and then I'd probably take the Lance variant and try and cycle charge more, rather than going up against the monsters. They're pretty comparable in terms of their stats. The extra melee attack and defense of the regular Lance version rather makes them a little bit better and sustained in a way. I mean, yes, they won't do quite as much damage, but the extra melee defense, I mean, 3, it doesn't seem like much, but that can make the difference for sure. And the extra charge bonus means, again, if you're charging with them, being aggressive, kind of ping-ponging around, you're going to stay protected, number 1, because you're staying on the move, and number 2, you're taking advantage of that charge bonus more. So, in my eyes, it just kind of seems to incentivize the right sort of play, I guess is a good way of putting it. Taking the lances, both with Demigryph Knights and with Necropolis Knights, taking the lances over the halberds, but maybe there are some situations where you would want the halberds. But anyway, going back to the build, something like this, I'd probably take Khalida as well, just to make it nice and thematic, so that she can kind of lead the way. Definitely don't need the missile buff, but I would keep pretty much all of the rest of these. Tomb Strike as well will give us a source of terror in case we don't bring any other terror, but definitely want to tank up on some spears. As for Lore of Magic against Norsca, I might go with Lore of Death, just to Spirit Leech Famir. We don't need the Curse of Khazar, we just need Spirit Leech. I wouldn't take the Lore Attribute as well. Something like that, and then maybe take Soul Blight if we have the extra funds, or you could just, go in another direction. But something like this might be pretty solid. This might be a little bit too deep on the Necropolis Knights. Maybe we only take 2 there. And this would allow you to then take a Hero Titan in addition, although again, that seems a little bit small. Basically just bringing more Horsemen at that point for a different Lord choice. And Arcan the Black with his summons is definitely going to be more competitive than Khalida, but just to keep things nice and thematic here, we'll leave it at that. And yeah, maybe just grab some skirmish cav because I'm me, and that would work out okay. And then with that, oh, we don't quite have enough for Soul Blight, so I might have to come in here and like cut one of these guys down to a swordsman, and then that Soul Blight will give us some armor sundering, so we can focus fire with the skeleton horseman archers. So something like this might be okay. You just win the mobility fight with your cav and the Necropolis Knights, and then use the skeleton horseman to skirmish your opponent down. Maybe it would work all right. Haven't tried, but hopefully you guys, I don't know, maybe one of you will try it, or maybe I'll try it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.